Welcome into Texans Cookout. Chancellor Johnson, joined alongside by the crew, DJ B Anime of ESPN, Big Sarge of Big Sarge Media, and Jonathan Alexander of the Houston Chronicle. The Houston Texans, they are now 3-5 after losing to the Denver Broncos at home in week 9. DJ, we'll start with you. No CJ Stroud after he took a licking running for a first down. Insert Davis Mills, and the offense really couldn't get anything going past that. What was your biggest takeaway on the day from this Texans team?
Just the overall value that CJ provides. I think that people take that for granted at times. Um, and I think that, some fans that are very critical of him at times, we've seen sometimes people on Twitter, small minority, but sometimes loud, people talking about putting Davis in at times. And now you see why, you see the value that CJ has, right? The offense, when he was out there, the first two drives kind of moved the ball seamlessly. You got some explosives, you got some big plays, you got some fourth down conversions, you got third down conversions within those two drives. And, once you put Davis in there, while they did still score 9 points, they scored 9, what was it, 12 points? 12 points with Davis. One was gifted to them, and only 3 was in the second half. So you just kind of see the value that he adds. Because, again, like a lot of this offense is kind of like a lot of static stuff to where you just got to drop back, throw into a spot, get it there. It's not like they don't necessarily always scheme things, guys butt naked wide open. But, regardless, you kind of saw CJ's value when he went out the game.
Excuse me, not DJ, Jonathan, over the offseason, the Texans extended Davis Mills, and they have a lot of confidence in him. What did you see from the Texans veteran backup and what he was not able to do on the day?
Yeah, I mean, it's only but so much you can expect from a quarterback whose job is to be a backup, and that's no shot at Davis Mills. There, like DJ said earlier, there is a significant difference in starting level quarterbacks who are considered franchise level quarterbacks and guys who are backups. And it was tough for Davis Mills, particularly him coming in unexpectedly, going against one of the top defenses in the NFL. That was always going to be tough, but I think when you already have an offense that's already struggling in certain areas, particularly in the red zone, and then you put in a backup, to try to overcome that against a top team, you're going to run into mistakes. And I thought that's what we saw happen.
Sarge, it's too bad that we didn't get a chance to see CJ, really complete that game because I thought in the first couple of drives when he was out there, the Texans offense, they were moving the ball, right? The first drive, they stalled out once they got to the red zone, and we'll get to the red zone issues later on this show. But I thought CJ, he looked good. The offense looked good. And then, when you insert Davis Mills, I think it's fair to have wanted more from him. I thought there were some opportunities where he missed some guys, right? There was a big, I believe it was a third down where he missed Christian Kirk, who was open that could have kept the drive going and kept the Broncos off the field. From you and what you saw, what was your evaluation of Mr. Mills?
My thing is that Davis Mills has been in the league entirely too long to perform the way that he performed. Now, I get it, and I understand that he's not supposed to come in and be CJ Stroud. Nobody can be CJ Stroud but CJ Stroud. But some of the plays that I seen him, and some of the plays that I seen from him on Sunday, some of the ways that I seen him moving the ball, I knew that it was going to be a long day when he came in, and the first thing he did when he dropped back was start shuffling his feet, and nobody was around him. And I'm saying to myself, why don't you just set your feet? You don't even have any pressure, and so. He looked like the Davis Mills of old. He looked like the Davis Mills that gets shell-shocked in the pocket, who is, will take some chances, but afraid to take some chances. And he just didn't look comfortable for a large majority of the game. And I will say this, it's very hard for a quarterback to come in right off the bench, not expecting to play, and hop right in and continuing what the offense was doing as far as moving the ball against that Broncos defense. The thing is, though, I gave him till halftime, because now you know that CJ isn't coming back. And when CJ isn't coming back, you and Nick Caley need to get together and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Now I know that Nick Caley probably had to go in the back of the playbook and get the plays that he had designed for Davis Mills from training camp. I know that they were way in the back, but by the same token, those two you could tell wasn't on the same page. And I'm just gonna say this: the one thing that the one cliche that I hate in NFL football is next man up, because like it's cool. Next man up, the body, the next body that plays that backup position steps in, but that backup, if it's not as talented as the person that's playing in front of him, yeah, next man up, but there's no possible way you can expect him to perform. So when they keep saying, oh man, hey, we got to have that next man up mentality. Yeah, but the next man up ain't CJ Stroud Jr., it's Davis Mills.
To that point, I definitely hear what you're saying, and I do think it is. They toss that word around or that cliche around, but the reality is in the NFL, nobody cares, right? Like nobody cared when the Texans played the Baltimore Ravens and they had a Cooper Rush playing, right? Or at least for the Texans were, they didn't care, right? Ravens fans did. Or when injuries happen in the NFL, it is what it is, and so now we're facing the Texans team. The reality is, because I hear you, but the broader point is, if CJ Stroud isn't able to go next week, it will be next man up, which will be Davis Mills. And the Texans are in a situation to where, obviously, like it's a must-win game. But like if they lose next week, their playoff chances are essentially just gone, because they would have lost both games to Jacksonville. Right now, they're already 2 games back from the Jaguars, and so whether it's we talked about last week where they facing the stretch where I said they had to kind of go 4-0, facing the Broncos, Jags, Titans, and then Bills. But next week, an absolute must win for this Texans team. And if the concussion situation is like it was with Nico Collins last week, where Collins, got out of the game, wasn't able to play the following week, it will be Davis Mills. DJ, how do you feel about where the team is and what they might be able to do next week against the Jags if Davis Mills is the QB?
I mean, if he's a QB, I just don't expect him to win. Can they? Yeah, but I wouldn't expect it. I think that if there was just more overall sheer talent around Davis, then it'd be different. But I mean, if we're just being candid, like what's that much different around him now than it was in 2022? You know what I'm saying? Outside of you got a bona fide star receiver in Nico, and I think obviously better tight end play because Dalton's better than what they had at tight end a couple years back. Well, 2022 compared to like Jordan Atkins and things of that nature. But besides that, the running game's worse. The O-line's overall worse. The play call, I mean, I'm taking Pep over Nick Caley any day of the week. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I'm not gonna expect him to. You just kind of need him to manage the game and let the defense kind of carry you to that win, because that's very possible against the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars haven't been playing as clean of football as of late. I mean, obviously they won today and it went the distance with the Raiders, but they're going to be down their second best receiver in that matchup. Obviously, no Travis. So, obviously, the best corner. And they traded. I mean, now you got Greg Newsome as the number 1 corner. I think you can win that matchup. But again, like, it isn't like the pieces around Mills is this ultra proven core guy. And again, like, I think the point I always even talking about is Titus Howard also got a concussion. So, if he doesn't play, you'll be down your best offensive lineman and your starting quarterback. So that cast of guys around Davis going into this week against a really good defensive line, again, you're going to need defense to kind of carry you to that win. And if they lose that, looking at 3-6, you can kind of write the season off.
DJ, I think that's a good point. You mentioned about Titus Howard if he's out, because the other thing too with Titus Howard likes to run that jumbo personnel set that you're not able to do anymore.
Right.
With Titus Howard out, and you have to stick Blake Fisher at right tackle. Jonathan, how do you see things next week with the Jags? You're muted, brother.
My My bad. Yeah, I think the prospects look grim, but I want to go back to a point or something that you said. This is a must-win game for them, but it's really only their fault. They dug themselves into a hole. It starts with D'Amico Ryans hiring an inexperienced offensive coordinator who needed to take time for his players to get adjusted to his offense. I mean, the Texans are only in this situation because of them. Having lost 3 of those games by one possession. So, they don't have anybody to point to but themselves. And as for this game, I don't think it's impossible that they could win. Case Keenum pulled off a miraculous win when nobody thought he would pull that off 2 years ago. I'm not saying it's likely, but I don't think it's impossible. I think, when players come in relief, they're much better suited when they have a week of preparation versus when they come in the middle of a game. I think that's a little bit tougher. But one thing we know, there is a significant drop-off from C.J. Stroud to Davis Mills. So, like DJ said, the defense is probably going to have – Davis is going to have to take care of the football, and it's going to have to stay out of these 3rd and 3 and outs. And the defense is going to have to score some points and really dominate against the Jaguars, which I don't think that's impossible considering Jacksonville's situation.
Sarge, how you calling it for next week?
It's funny, and the reason why I say that it's funny because I want to be able to give the Texans the benefit of the doubt, just because of that great defense that they have and the way that they can play. And I don't see a lot of offensive weapons for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and not ones that have been performing or blowing you out the water. And of course, like DJ said earlier, no Travis Hunter. So now you're looking at one of your best offensive weapons and one of your best defensive weapons being out of the game. And so I think that they could win this game. Yes, it's a must-win game. I think that they could win this game. My only issue is I think that they could win it just as much as I think that Nick Caley can lose it. And let me elaborate on that. In the second half, you don't get the ball to Nico not one time against the Broncos. You got Nico going up against Riley Moss, who I think that is a good cornerback. But by the same token, Nico can beat those type of Nico could beat that type of cornerback if you give him the amount of targets and throw it to him. I think they only target Nico 2 times in the second half, and then you don't play Jalen Noel, or do you only give him 4 to 6 routes that was ran? I don't think he was targeted not one time. It's just like when you look at it, it's like, okay, so Nick Caley, what are you doing? One thing that I've noticed within the last 3 weeks with Nick Caley is he gets very conservative when he's playing against a team that has a good front seven, and he automatically puts himself behind the 8 ball, worried about what the Seahawks front seven is going to do or what the Broncos front seven is going to do, compared to, hey man, just go out there and do what you do. And so, just as much as I can see this defense winning, forcing Trevor Lawrence to make some type of mistakes, maybe taking the ball away on multiple occasions, I can see them getting the ball back, or I can see them stopping the Jaguars offense and giving the ball back to the Texans. And if that's Davis Mills at the helm, I mean, him and Nick Caley, they're not a match made in heaven. So I don't know, Chancellor. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I do think you brought up a good point, though, especially coming off last week with the effort that the rookies had, whether it's Noel or Higgins. And this week, Higgins had 1 target. Noel, as you just mentioned, how much was he on the field? How many snaps do we see him have? And so disappointed to see the success they had last week. And obviously, it's not going to fully carry over, but stuff worked last week. And this week, we didn't see some of that. As far as the defense goes,
stuff worked last week because that team was beat up. Like, we always got to contextualize this stuff. The stuff was it was beat up, and they were running a lot of the same stuff they was running last week, and it worked because Saleh was with a depleted defense, and they had to kind of play a lot of more I call it static coverages where things are more plain as day, and there was no pass rush. So there's no pass rush. It's easier to do whatever you want. And obviously this week, the pass rush was better, but it wasn't even that much. Like, obviously they had plays, but like there were still some clean pockets where guys could still, make certain throws and things of that nature. Sometimes, guys don't get open as well, and it still comes back to Nick Haley designing better things. I don't think he went away from the players. I think they ran a lot of same stuff they ran last week, man. I think that, I kind of agree with Sarge about like he could kind of blow the game himself at times, but I think it's just really a schematic thing. Like it's a lot of boring, mundane stuff that it's always been that way. So even if you put Noel out there or you put Higgins out there, it's not like they're running routes that are going to get them wide open. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not running that much of creative stuff. At times they do, and you wish he did that more often, but he doesn't.
I mean, it's that, and it seems like he just seems to fold when he gets into the red zone. Like, running 6 plays inside the 2-yard line and not getting a single inch is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Second time in 3 weeks. I mean, we saw it in Seattle.
Yeah, so, you can blame that on your offensive line some, but a lot of that goes to your play caller. Like how do you run 2 back-to-back fullback dives, the same exact play, like expecting one to produce after the other one failed?
The same way you run 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 and get stopped against Seattle. The same thing.
So I will say on the fullback dive, though, I would say that Brooks just got to run through Greenlaw on the second one.
That's a tall ass, though.
But I mean, if you were an NFL runner, if you were a real guy, like you got to be able to, I think it's reasonable on that second one to be like Brooks should be able to get in. You know what I'm saying? Because it was really like mano y mano, and he just got stonewalled, and then somebody else came and cleaned it up.
Greenlaw's a good player still.
He is, but again, like I think it's fair to be like, I'm very critical of Kayla. I feel like in that one, like you kind of need.
You set your plays up for success, and that's
for sure.
Okay, but
I'm saying it's one-on-one.
I hear I hear what you're saying on that. I hear what you're saying on that. But after it doesn't work the first time, why do you go back to that same play again? Why not go to a different play? Have the same look, but maybe do a pitch. Anything else other than the same play. Like I understand, you probably will want Brooks to win that matchup, but like I don't know, it just seems like a low probability to try to go back at the same play after the first one didn't work. Is where I'm coming from.
And my thing is this too, when we're talking about the red zone, and I didn't know, Chancellor, I didn't want to step on your toes. I know you may have wanted to introduce the red zone topic, but since we're here, there's a couple of things that I don't understand about this red zone, especially inside the 5, because you wait till the last play to run a quarterback sneak with CJ Stroud, and then you get the penalty, and then we know they had to kick the field goal from there. But you wait till the last play to run a quarterback sneak, and then you try to run a quarterback sneak from the 4-yard line with Davis Mills. Like if that ain't the most idiotic, stupid shit I've seen in a very long time. Well, 2-yard line. They're 2, 4, whatever the case may be. It's all the same to me. It's like it was too far out. It was too far out for that to me to be able to try to run that. And I'm gonna be honest with you. It's time for them to do some type of misdirection plays, some type of plays that gets the receivers out some way, somehow. I know they want to run the ball, but hey man, open that thing up, spread it out, and then try to run it from that, because like every time they try to run behind Jake Andrews or in between Jake Andrews and Laken Thompson, it just does not look good. I don't trust Jake Andrews.
What do you mean spread it out and run it? What do you mean by that?
I mean, if I'm gonna go, they ran that back-to-back plays with British Brooks, right? The British Brooks ran those 2 plays, right? You see how compact it was on the line. So
but if
I'm gonna go,
yes,
that's goal line. That's pretty normal.
Yeah, if you let me finish. If I see it like Jonathan said, why run the same play twice? If it doesn't work on the first play, then I'm trying another play. I'm trying another play. I'm trying to shoot something, anything. I'm gonna just try. I'm not gonna give the same look twice. And I think that Chancellor said it same way it was when it was in Seattle, and same way it was when I just interrupted Jonathan when he was talking. That 3rd-and-1 play that they ran in Seattle, they came back and ran 4th-and-1, the exact same play. They just tried to stretch it out a little bit. But these defenses are smart, and these defenses you're going to, they're looking at it. All I'm saying is that, hey man, look, sometimes get creative. Hell, try to tush push, do something, but stop getting in these situations inside of the 5-yard line and then looking like you don't know how to play football anymore.
So I wasn't there today, but I'm curious as you guys were in the locker room. With this team sitting 3-5, like what's the vibe you guys are getting? Because in the past, when I've been in there, obviously it was like, nah, we're still staying positive. There's a lot of the season left. Even last week, coming off that win, Will Anderson, said, "Hey, who said we had to lose another game?" And that sounded good in the moment, but then obviously we saw, what happened, today. But for you guys, what was the vibe you guys got, especially as we get into this must-win game? And if they lose next week, as I mentioned, season's probably over. Like, where do you feel like the vibes are at NRG right now?
I mean, the vibes are normal. Yeah, the vibes are normal. I mean, team three. I mean, this team. Yeah, the vibes. To me, the vibes are normal. Like, I don't. After 2022, I stopped like over analyzing post game locker room vibes. I think you gotta you pick up the vibe during the week, not necessarily after a game. Emotions are high, emotions are raw, but most guys are usually gonna be pretty smooth after a game. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes guys get frustrated and whatnot. Like Lions game, Mixon was upset, even though he's talked and whatever. Sometimes guys get out of there quicker, especially if it's night games. But I mean, I don't really pay too much attention to that because like that could just be guys being emotional. I don't want to be like, oh well, guys everybody seemed like it was normal, like they was chilling. Now people might think, oh well, they happy that they lost. You know what I'm saying? Like I just kind of check out vibes during the week versus after a game. You know what I'm saying? So, and because a lot of times, like, you don't catch everybody in there. You catch like maybe 15, 20, 25 guys in there. So you can't even, like, for example, like the vibes after the Jaguars game felt normal, but like you didn't really see too many guys upset. But there's for sure tension before we got into the locker room. But once all that dissipated, boom, guys look normal. So it's like you really got to talk to people during the week to kind of get that vibe, not necessarily right after a game. At least for me. Now I can't speak for everybody else on how I evaluate vibes and whatnot.
Jonathan, you calling Cap? Or are you feel where he's coming from?
Nah, I think I think guys are frustrated, but they're frustrated after every loss. Like
Yeah.
I agree with the sentiment that you can't feel vibes and then be like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
this
Exactly.
this is a week to week league.
Exactly.
And then the Texans are so in the middle, like, they're gonna feel happy one week and sad the next week.
Yeah.
So they're like a in the middle team, an average team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I tend to agree with CJ. I mean with DJ on that point. But I think they're frustrated. But I don't think people are giving up. And I think that they think they could turn things around, even if that might sound a little bit delusional. But at the same time, they can't afford to give up on the season. I mean, they still have a small chance, even if it's super small. But I think it's frustration, but optimism at the same time. But then again, how much can you take away from that? Like, what can you really take
Yeah.
away from
Oh
me
my
saying that?
God. Washington getting cooked.
You muted, Sarge.
Yeah, but I just thought about that. I was like, I'm on mute. I think for me, the vibes that I'm getting out of the locker room is they're just tired of losing. They're just tired of losing. And not like so much as they're just tired of losing. They're tired of losing the way that they're losing because it's too many close games, too many one-score games that they're losing. Too many is coming down to the wire. Like they want to be able to have those type of wins where they can win comfortably. They want a Baltimore Ravens type of win. They want a San Francisco 49ers type of win. They just want to win where both sides of the ball plays good, effectively and efficiently. And so, I get the vibes. That's the vibes that I get. The vibes I get is like, look, all right, we're losing, but we're losing, and we're losing because we're making mistakes. We're losing because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. They don't feel like, in it, like I said, at least the vibes that I get, they don't feel like anybody is really like just beating them. Somebody just coming in and just blowing them out or whatever the case may be. They just feel like, at least for the people that I talk to, I can't speak for everybody, but the people that I talk to, their whole mindset is it's just we're beating ourselves. The little things that we're doing, we got to clean up. I have got an opportunity. We got an opportunity to speak with Kamari Lassiter today, and he said I ain't blaming nobody but myself because I go back and I look at some of the things that I could have done better, and some of the things that some of the mistakes that I could have cleaned up, some of the things that I could have done, and I look at me. Will Anderson Jr. said the same thing, and we're talking about this is the number one defense in the league, saying that they could have done better. We're talking about the team. We're talking about a team who just held one of the hottest teams in the NFL as far as scoring is concerned to 18 points. I mean, look at what the Broncos did to the Giants in that fourth quarter 3 weeks ago, scoring that 33 points, coming right back and putting up the amount of points they put on the Dallas Cowboys. And then the Texans defense held them to 15 points till the end of the game. Same way they did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Held them to, that amount of 13 points. I think it was it 13 or maybe a little bit more till the end of the game. And so all there's to me, what I'm getting is with the vibes is they're not upset that they're losing as so much as the way that they're losing. Like they don't feel like no team is beating them, they're beating themselves.
Well, to me, this was another week where I thought the defense played well enough to win. They gave Bo Nix some fits early on. He was missing on some throws. They were able to get after him, and obviously they were able to turn the ball over as well. But it's all in a way, it was kind of like that Buccaneers game where they had, in a way, just the ending of it, where they had, it was a third down and they let him escape, and it was actually a nice play by Nix, and he found daylight, set themselves up for the game winner, and that was it. And so, Sarge, it was like one of the first cookouts we had where you mentioned like, hey, how perfect does the defense might have to be for them to win games? And I thought overall the defense, as I mentioned, played well enough to win. Just another one that they weren't able to finish on, as D'Amico likes to say, finish.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what I believe. I believe that this team is like it's almost like the defense, and that's what Danielle Hunter told me. He's like, hey, look, our goal is to go in and to pitch a shutout. And I think that very next week they did that against the Tennessee Titans when they beat them 26-0. But they go in and they try to win and try to pitch a shutout every week. But unfortunately, they don't get it. But they are the number one team as far as points scored against in the league. And so when you have that, when you're holding these teams to this amount of points, and you go back and you look and you're saying, hey, we need some help. We need some help. Now that's not something that they'll ever say out loud or throw their teammates under the bus. But we all see it. We're there, we're watching it. We can see that they need more help on the offense side of the ball. And my thing is, and I asked you all this, I think it was that last week, is if they don't make the playoffs, who are we to blame? I don't want to, ask that question again because I feel like it'll be rhetorical, but I just don't understand how this offense is going to get going because I mean, and I don't know this, and Jonathan, DJ, y'all might have better answers for me. Like, how many people are they getting rid? How many people will they lose on the defensive side of the ball, as far as next year is concerned?
maybe the Neil's cap kind of gets a little bit higher. I mean, I could look at it right now. I mean, I don't really. Their defense should be mainly intact though. Yeah, their defense should be mainly intact even next year because Stingley's locked up, Petrie's locked up. Will go ahead.
Yeah. Their core players are locked up.
Will's
So
locked
the guys that they'll have to replace are replaceable.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about their defense. I think offensively, well, Daniil's cap hit is $30 million, but his dead cap is 45, so he'll be here next year. He'll 1,000% be here next year. So yeah, I mean, defensively they'll be fine. Maybe replace some of the D tackles, but I mean, they've kind of shown you they can kind of rotate through those guys and be just fine.
Defensive tackle is the only position that they'll have to fix, but like DJ just said, they've made do with it the past 3 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just kind of look at, I mean, at the end of the day, it starts with D'Amico and Nick, and then just kind of go from there, and you divvy it up how you want to blame that, you know? So that's kind of
that. Week 9, we're looking at off season potential departures.
I mean, start looking at the mock drafts and what maybe start looking at the mock drafts. Maybe I mean, I just
go ahead, my fault.
Yeah, no. See, I mean, it really just comes down to how much time CJ gonna miss. If CJ missed 2 weeks, season is done.
Yeah,
because I mean, they got.
Well, I mean, look,
Jaguars and Titans.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna assume he's gonna be out this week. Just usually, I don't know what the stats are, but yeah, after concussion, you're probably gonna miss next week. And so I don't know if y'all ever seen that guy from TikTok. He's a basketball guy. They call him OG. And the Texans like, can you give me a game? Can you give me a game?
They're talking about. Yeah.
And then you got Tennessee. You can't drop that one, but
yeah. So I mean, then after that, you got Buffalo, right? No.
Yeah.
You got Buffalo.
Yeah, you got Buffalo.
Then you got Colts. Then you got Kansas City. So if you go into that 3-game stretch on a losing streak, or you with a losing record.
In general, if they lose next week, because right now the Jags are technically the 7th seed in the wild card, and then they would be 3 games behind, and with
they would have got swept by them.
Yeah. I mean, so like next week is their season officially, and then after that, we'll see what happens from there. So,
yeah.
Thanks for joining us on Texans Cookout. We will see you next week following the Texans versus Jaguars game. Have a great week.